Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. Join me today once again for a bimble on the moors of Lancashire. Now, the last video that I did, I went and took a look at an old farmhouse ruin that had a number of strange symbols, or sigils as they're known in the trade, carved into the stones of the ruins. And that video did very well. I've since had 100 subscribers, new subscribers off the back of that video. So a big hello to each and every one of you who subscribed off the back of that video. I will be revisiting that location at some point in the very near future, because from reading all the comments that people have left, I've been left with more questions than answers. So I will be revisiting that site at some point and taking a look at it a little bit more in depth now that I know a little bit more about what it's all about. But today we're going to be making our way to a monument that is on these moors known as the Pikestones, which is in the Anglezarke area of this moorland and overlooks Rivington. And the Pikestones is a 5,000-year-old burial mound. And as interesting as that is, because it's Neolithic, I've not really come to take a look at that as such. What I've come to take a look at is one of these strange symbols, because there is a single sigil that has been carved into this monument. Now, some people look upon it as vandalism, and other people look upon it as trying to keep the old traditions and the old ways alive. So I'm interested in taking a look at it, because I think that this sigil that was carved into the Pikestones predates the ones that I saw at that farmhouse ruin. And I think it dates from 1993. And I think it's been done by the same person. So I want to take a look at it and see if it looks the same, basically. So I'm now going to make my way onto the moorland. I'm going to get over this fence die here. There's sheep and cows now on the moors, so I'm hoping these cows don't come over. And let's hope he hasn't got a bull in the field. Right, I'm now on the moorlands and I'm going to have to make my way over here. Now, what intrigues me regarding these sigils is they're always placed on stones in the middle of nowhere. They're off the beaten track. Someone has had to come up here with purpose to try and carve these things in, and they're very talented, whoever does it. You know, it's like there's a stonemason Banksy of the moorlands, and it just fascinates me, hot potters. So I'm just going to make my way up this bit of an incline, get out onto the flat, and hopefully I'll be able to see where the Pikestones are. So join me in a moment after I've got up this bit of an hill and had a swig of water. I'm staying hydrated today, hot potters. I didn't do that last time. I just bombed straight out onto the moors, which wasn't good really. But today I'm staying hydrated, so join me in a little while. Okay, hot potters, welcome back. I'm now making my way across a very muddy field. I had to do a bit of a detour because there was some cows right across the public footpath grazing, and I thought I don't fancy going past them. As people who've watched my videos before will know, I've had a few run-ins with livestock, namely horses, and I've learned where possible to keep away from them. Unfortunately, that's meant doing a bit of a detour through a muddy field, and it's like the Somme underfoot. I'm glad I've got my Wellingtons on. Now, there's nothing really special today about them. It just looks like a pile of rocks that have been thrown there. But you've got to remember that these things are 5,000 years old. And it would have been a very impressive burial mound back in the day. It would have been rather large, and it would have dominated the skyline. Probably to tell the people around who own the land. But today, it's just a number of great stones that are buried and sort of half emerged from the ground. But that's where we'll find this sigil, this rather strange symbol, which I believe is the very first work of the person who went down and started putting lots of sigils at the witch's cottage. They was probably trying to use this space, and they were going to originally set up the little temple, call it what you will, in this area, but as you'll see, lots of people come up here So it would have been discovered, and that's probably why they relocated elsewhere on these moors. But this is the notice board that tells you all about the Pikestones. Unfortunately, it's been defaced. There's nothing on there to tell us what the Pikestones are about. I'll try and get a photograph, a period photograph of that earlier, and I'll try and put it in for you, and you can pause this video and read all about the Pikestones if you wish. As I say, it's amazing to think that they're 5,000 years old. Now I'm going to make my way over this little footstar once again. And we're not too far away from them. As you can see, there's a well-worn footpath through to them. So if somebody was hoping to carry out private ceremonies, whatever here, they were going to get disturbed. But it is amazing to think that someone is willing to come all this way out just to carve a symbol into a piece of rock. And I can just see the top of them. I think they're just over there. And yes, these are the Pikestones. And because this is an ancient site, I think that's why someone was wanting to use this for other purposes. Anyway, I'm going to whip the camera around. We'll take a look at them, shall we? And this, hot potters, is the Pikestones here on the Lancashire moors, or what's left of it. Once there would have been a rather impressive burial chamber or mound in this area. And you have to admire the tenacity and the determination of the people who built this 5,000 years ago, as these stones have no doubt been brought here from elsewhere. Apparently it's made from gritstone, which is a very hard stone, and it wasn't just placed here any old road or any old way, as if I can just get behind it, it's been built exactly on a north-south axis. That's north as I'm looking at it, and it's directly in line with Rivington Pike. So there's some purpose or method to this being built here, and that is why I believe whoever carved this sigil that we'll take a look at in a moment, or what's left of the sigil, they placed it here. They believe this area has some kind of magical powers. Now, this sigil first appeared in 1993. That was when it was first noticed. But in 2006, someone came up here and destroyed it. Now, some people like to give them the benefit of the doubt and claim that they was just trying to remove it. But if you take a look on the modern antiquarian website, you can see that how they tried to remove it was rather haphazard. What they did, they got some large boulders from around this area and just simply threw it against the sigil. So my guess is that they wasn't trying to remove it out of the goodness of their heart. They was trying to destroy what they believed was an ancient symbol, and if that's the case, it's rather sad. It really is, as there was vandalism. But I'll put a photograph in there for you, and you'll be able to see what this sigil first looked like in 1993. And as you can see, somebody somewhere has got quite a little bit of talent to be able to do that. They're not just the run-of-the-mill vandal up here with a can of spray paint. They've actually brought tools up here and carved that symbol into this rock. Now, I believe that symbol, it represents water, as there's a very similar one on the witch's cottage on what was the central pillar, which I'll put them in there side by side and you'll be able to agree that they have a certain similarity. So apparently this represents water, and it fits in nicely with, there's a little piece of wood on here and some little stones and what appears to be like something from a tree, a little fir or acorn, and that would lead into whoever comes up here is actually worshipping the land. A number of people said that on my last video, that it didn't really have anything to do with the devil per se. It was more people being pagan and sort of worshipping the old gods of the land, which could be true. So the fact that somebody's left them little tributes here at the side of this sigil, this area is still being used for worship. And once again, it's so quiet up here. It's deafening, really. If it wasn't for that aircraft in the distance, you wouldn't be able to hear a thing. There's no birds chirping or anything, which I find odd and eerie. Over there is Winter Hill with the mass. But yeah, I think that this one was the first attempt by whoever's been coming up here and carrying out rituals and ceremonies. I think this was their first attempt at creating a sigil. And then whether the group got larger, and that's why more appeared over in that farm ruin or not, who knows? What's your thoughts on this, Hot Potters? It's rather interesting. Just who is the stonemason Banksy of the moorlands? I'll leave that question to you guys. Right then, I'm now going to whip the camera around and wrap this one up, I think. Right, Hot Potters, I'm now going to leave the Pikestones behind and make my way off these moors and get back to the old jalopy. All I'll need to do is just negotiate those cows further down, and hopefully they won't get curious and make their way over to me. But before I go, it's worth noting that this area, the Pikestones, is an actual scheduled monument, and what that means is it's protected. Should anybody come up here and do damage, like they've done when they put the sigil on in 1993, and then the person who tried to remove it in 2006, if they'd have been caught, they would have faced a rather hefty fine. I know someone who damaged a scheduled monument years ago, they got fined £160,000. And it can carry a maximum of 2 years imprisonment and a fine as well. You know, you can get both, a fine and imprisoned. So it's pretty serious stuff coming up and putting these carvings in. So it does make you wonder who has felt it was worth the risk to come up here and do that. It really does. Anyway, as always, please leave your comments and your thoughts below, as I do appreciate them all. I don't always get the chance to reply to everybody, especially when they come in a bit thick and fast like they did on the last video. But I do try and read them all and get round to replying to each and every one of them. As I say, it's not always possible, but I do appreciate them. So, until the next time, from myself, Mr. H, here at the Pikestones on Anglezarke Moor in Lancashire, it is. Bye-bye for now. They're getting curious, Hot Potters. Notice me. It looks like I'm about to be run off this field, so I'm going to whip the camera around and get back to the old jalopy quick. Right, Hot Potters, I'm not hanging about. I apologise if this footage is shaky, but I do not like large livestock and animals. Whether or not they think I'm the farmer coming to feed them or something like that, who knows. But that's it from me for today. Until the next time, bye-bye for now.